Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric Correct Writer, and this week we're going to be taking a look back at the 2009 comedy titled The Hangover. Now, The Hangover runs for 1 hour and 40 minutes long. It is directed by Todd Phillips. It is produced by Todd Phillips and Daniel Goldberg. The script was written by John Lucas and Scott Moore. The script was John Lucas and Scott Moore. The score was done by Christoph Beck, the cinematography by Lawrence Shear, and the editing was done by Deborah Neal Fisher, and the stars of the movie are Bradley Cooper, Ed Helms, Zach Galifianakis, Heather Graham, Justin Bartha, Jeffrey Tambor, Ken Jeong, Mike Epps, Rachael Harris, Brian Callen, Rob Riggle, Cleo King, Gillian Vigman, who was this? Oh, Ian Anthony Dale, Matt Walsh, Dan Finnerty, and there's even a cameo appearance. Well, actually, Mike Tyson actually appears in this movie too, as himself. And there's even also a cameo appearance from director Todd Phillips is in there too. He goes by the name of Mr. Creepy. But we'll get in more into that. The story goes something like this. Four guys go off to a bachelor party in Las Vegas. It is the wedding of Justin Bartha's character, Doug. And he decides to have a bachelor party with three of his friends, including his brother-in-law. We have Bradley Cooper's character. He's Phil. He's a school teacher, but he also loves to party, Even though he's in his 30s, he somehow still has a bit of a mindset like a teenager. He still likes to live the life like a teenager. Even though, yes, he's married and he has a son, he still likes to be the wild guy. He is the leader of a group that is known as the Wolf Pack. Then you have Ed Helms. Ed Helms plays the role of Stu. He is the intelligent member of the group, probably maybe the more level-headed member of the group, but he's also a hen-picked boyfriend to his girlfriend, played by Rachael Harris, who's just such a fucking bitch. Sorry to use such language, but I just can't think of any other descriptive adjectives about her. Anyhow, yeah. And then he's also joined by his brother-in-law, Alan, played by Zach Galifianakis. He probably has some kind of ADHD or maybe some form of autism. Don't judge me. I'm not to say that I should judge anybody who has autism, because FYI, I have Asperger's syndrome, so, that's I don't mean to just label anybody of that sorts, but anyhow, he's also goes along for the ride. So, it's their last parties together before the big wedding. So what do they decide to do? Well, they decide to go to Las Vegas and paint Sin City red. So they spend a whole night drinking, gambling, just practically living the life as if the world was going to come to an end. And then the inevitable happens. They wake up in their Las Vegas suite, and their hotel room is completely trashed. And if that doesn't make any matters worse, there's chickens all over the place. I don't know where the chickens came from, but there's chickens all over the place. And then, and a hooker leaves the room. Hi, Heather Graham. Nice to see you. And then, of course, and then when Alan goes to the bathroom, there's a tiger in there. So, but that's not the worst case scenario. Really? A trashed hotel? An abandoned baby? Chickens? A giant cat? No, there's something that's even more worse than that. I wonder what it could be. That's right. The groom is missing. What the fuck? The groom is missing. And it's just one more day till the wedding.
Yeah, take it easy.
So now, what are Phil, Stu, and Alan are going to do now? I mean, they have to find Doug. Or if not, they're going to have to face some serious consequences. Oh, never mind the fact that they're... Shit. Oh, never mind the fact that their hotel room is trashed and there's an abandoned baby and a giant tiger in the bathroom and there's chickens scattered all over the place. No, the main thing is that old Dougie is missing. And while they're at it, they have to go through all kinds of other things, like look for the abandoned baby's mother. Find a way to get the tiger, or where the fuck they got the tiger from. Oh yeah, that's right, they got it from Mike Tyson. They got it from Mike Tyson's house. I don't know how the fuck they got it from Mike Tyson's house while he's... without getting scratched or killed. And how did they actually manage to pick up a giant tiger? I mean, don't tigers weigh about 600, 700 pounds? I know there's all kinds of surreal stuff in this movie. But the thing is, the key component here is, the main thing is piecing all of these things together as to like what the hell happened to them and what to do to, get everything like all placed together. Like, what the hell happened? How did a tiger get in the room? Who is the mother? Who's the mother of the abandoned baby? Who's gonna pay for the trashed hotel? I mean, it's bad enough they bought an expensive suite that must have been about 5 or 6 zero figure price, and now that they trashed the hotel, it's probably gonna take a lot out of their pocketbooks. Good luck in that. But the main thing is, where the fuck is Doug? And they don't have a lot of time. They're on borrowed time. So now they have to go all over Vegas to piece these things together, while at the same time looking for Doug and getting him back before the wedding. It's pretty crazy shit in this movie, if you ask me. So, under the direction from Todd Phillips, The Hangover, in all, it truly, personifies what it's really like to be a man, in both its assets and its liabilities. Comedies have personified men in ways where they could be seen as either overly melancholy are just too crude in their demeanor. But Todd Phillips, like he did with the movie Old School and Starsky and Hutch, here he knows his psychology towards the male gender without making it, under the traps of making them, more fun-loving, vulnerable, and yet sincere. What makes Phillips successful as a director is his sincerity, even when his films don't always score high at the box office. But to me, The Hangover is truly one of the funniest films of 2009. I mean, I have to admit, there was non-stop laughter throughout. Every scene. To watch these bumbling guys go through all the trials and tribulations to piece what the hell happened in their hotel room, to looking for Doug. It's just crazy, crazy ass fun. And I could not have asked for anything less. When you think about it, most men behave the way that the character in this movie are depicted. Sure, we guys, we can be crude, we can be eccentric, we can be a bit macabre in nature, especially when we're on the road together, but at the same time, we could be juvenile. And yes, we do have wild sexual urges, but also nourishing once we've settled in. And when we have guys' night out, we do like to bond. Hey, why not? Girls' night outs, they do girly stuff. Guys, we do guy stuff. And it's not sexist in any kind of way, shape, or form. We do sometimes like to bond together. And sometimes we just like to have as much of a good time as the girls do. Sometimes we might take things in strides. Maybe we might be a little over the top than the girls. But, hey, they have their fun. We have our fun. Might be rogue, might be boorish, but still, nonetheless, it's definitely spontaneous. But in reality, it is that most men, especially the married ones, would rather feel comfortable bonding and opening up to other men over their wives to get a better understanding of what it's like to be a guy and to solidify their role as the alpha male. Like, take for example, the Flintstones. Does Fred actually feel comfortable venting out his emotions towards Wilma? Does Barney feel comfortable of venting his emotions towards Betty? No, of course not. Usually when Fred and Barney are lamenting over their wives, they discuss these matters not with their wives, but with each other. It's a normal thing. We guys sometimes still like to feel comfortable with other guys, and it's not a gay thing. It's just that, we just like to understand and experience the marriage life from a guy's perspective to another guy's perspective. And I think this is kind of like what this movie truly represents when all's said and done. When all the surreal, zany craziness that was happening throughout this movie, this is actually what the boiling point of this movie is truly all about. An example, a simple, the simple plot of The Hangover is about four friends who venture off to Las Vegas, partying off, like there's no tomorrow, only to wake up hungover and blanked out about the events that happened yesterday, only to find their hotel trashed, an abandoned baby, a Bengal tiger roaming around loosely, and chickens scattered all over the suite. To be blunt, something just does not quite add up. So now that these guys have overcome their hungover, they need to unravel all the shit that had just perspired, and they need to piece together as much stuff possible and to get Doug back before the wedding. Otherwise, they're gonna be up Schitt's Creek without a fucking paddle. An early scene, describes pretty much the important facets of male bonding. We have one of the four guys. His name is Stu, played by Ed Helms. He's pretty much, a well-disciplined dentist. He's living with a self-absorbed, control-freak fucking bitch of a girlfriend named Melissa, played by Rachael Harris. And he seems to plan on marrying her. Of course, Phil hates her, and who can blame him, because she's a bitch. And everybody knows that, even from my standpoint, you can tell she's just naturally a nasty bitch. I mean, every time Stu tries to kiss her, she pushes him away. When Phil comes out on some kind of walkie-talkie or some CD or some megaphone calling out, paging Dr. Faggot, of course she doesn't want Stu to hang around with these guys, because she practically has him in the palm of her hands. But she's still, controlling, bossy. She doesn't want him to go to Las Vegas with them. So he had to kind of make up a fib by saying that they're going to, I guess, Lake Tahoe for wine testing. Of course, she knows that he's lying. But when all's said and done, she's also not exactly Miss Honest herself. Many people didn't know that she actually had a promiscuous affair with a bartender. So she's not exactly that honest herself. So I don't think she's got any reason to cast any stones on him. I mean, he may have lied to her about going to Vegas, but at least I don't think he actually had any sex with anybody. Okay, maybe he may have also had an affair with the prostitute. Yes, he did have an affair with the prostitute who's the mother of the abandoned baby that was found in the suite. But then again, when you think about it, she's no better than him. Even though she likes to think she's better than him, because in her mind and in her point of view, she thinks that men are practically disobedient who need a female partner to set them on the straight and narrow. But in reality, Stu being more level-headed than the other guys. He just wants to socialize with someone of his gender. Sometimes, I've been in situations where I'm like the only guy in a room with a bunch of girls. And even though at times, okay, I admit it's kind of comforting. But in reality, sometimes I might even feel a little bit comfortable if there was maybe another guy or two in the room. That way, I don't feel like the odd person out. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, this is exactly what Stu wants. Stu does not want to be tied to a leash towards his controlling freak of a girlfriend. And he's got the most interesting backstory. And the reason I'm sort of emphasizing more on his is because he's got the more interesting backstory compared to the other characters. The events, of course, that proceed might turn into the worst 2 days of their life, while at the same time it can also be the best 2 days of their lives. While the well-disciplined Stu hangs out with his 3 friends, which are Doug, the groom-to-be, who's very protective of his Mercedes, his father-in-law lent him, played by his father, of course, is Jeffrey Tambor. His father-in-law is played by Jeffrey Tambor. Then we have Phil, played by Bradley Cooper. He's the cool customer who's not very comfortable about being domestic. And then you have Alan, played by Zach Galifianakis. He's Doug's future brother-in-law. And by God, the guy steals the show as the simple-minded friend who's there for the ride. Yeah, okay, he might be a fat, blubbering idiot at times, but he also has intentions. He might be a bit naive and might take people's sayings literally, but his intentions are always good. He always does stick and stand by his friends. And even though he might be in it for the ride, he's also bound and determined to rescue Doug wherever he is and to bring them back home. And all the other stuff as well. Bringing the tiger back to Mike Tyson. Looking for the mother of the abandoned child. And to pay the damages of their trashed hotel suite. Otherwise, they'll just have to wash dishes for a couple of weeks. Maybe months. It's their choice. So the opening scenes in The Hangover are funny, not only in the situations these characters are facing, but the dialogue is also both clever and witty. So Phillips, along with his screenwriters John Lucas and Scott Moore, call all of the humor that is at times borders on grotesque, especially in the scenes, where the characters are serving breakfast with a side of vomit. But it fits well into the story. And these are just, average guys who want to have fun. Although they found it more complex than they could imagine, because it's harder to have fun when you're older than compared to when you were a teenager. By the time you wake up, Stu's front tooth is extracted. Phil is seen sporting a hospital bracelet around his wrist, I should say. And Doug is missing in action. And Alan, where's his pants? I mean, I'm sure he came into the hotel room with pants. The fun was definitely sweet, but the hangover is the least of their problems. The search for Doug gives the gang a reason for staying their welcome in Vegas and helps the story out quite naturally. As they come to their senses, the gang starts to realize how everything turned out the day it did and will stop at nothing to correct themselves and their situation. If there are any weak areas in this film, it must come during the last act, where the comical factors kind of get watered down, but it never loses its focus or meanders off into another genre. It's a comedy, and it stays as a comedy throughout. Sure, it's a dark comedy that stays true to its genre. Many sitcoms and other comedy movies certainly can learn a thing or two from The Hangover. Doesn't matter whether you agree with me or disagree with me. I like to hear from you guys, but that's up to you guys. In its duration, the crew from The Hangover definitely took the liberties to offer the film with vulgar and tasteless jokes and scenarios, and outrageously deliver plot twists that unpredictably come from out of nowhere. Just when they think they got everything under control, they definitely pull back, which is not all that bad. The Hangover is definitely a movie that never delves into anything remotely horrible, but rather the horrible events they encountered that, created memories that could pass on to their kids when they're older. So this will definitely, through all the good and all the bad that was happening in the movie, the characters in The Hangover, namely the Wolf Pack, is definitely going to remember and cherish these events definitely till the day they die. And this is going to come down as one of the great comedy movies in the late 2000s. And I highly recommend this movie. And even though I was pulling off some jokes and some humor, I hope that it does not offend anybody. If it does, I'm sorry. I know in this day and age I have to be kind of apologetic in the things I say and do. But I just want to say it, I just had a good time watching this movie. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of humor. And, life does not always have to be serious. We can be lighten up. And, like I said, in this movie, it kind of sort of personifies that there's nothing wrong with being a guy. And that we enjoy the company of other men. And it's not necessarily a gay thing. It's just part of bonding. And I just gotta say, I had a wonderful time watching this movie, and I highly recommend it. And if I was to give this movie a scale out of 10, I would give The Hangover a 9. So I guess this ends my writer review. Thank you all for listening in. If you wish to subscribe to my channel, please feel free to do so. If you wish to leave a comment, go right ahead. But just remember, be kind, be courteous, and please refrain from any rude comments. And I will be back again with another movie review. So until next time, this is Eric Correct Writer saying, stay sober, my friends, and keep watching those movies. And I'll see you around. Goodbye.